We are seeing the Django views uh, in depth, and for this video I just would like to um, share some of the key methods which may helpful when you do uh, kind of micro projects or when you do a JavaScript AJAX request and all. Maybe this video would help you to um, design your view logic in such a way so that you can handle all uh, kind of view request from the client. When I say client, the browser request to the backend framework. Okay, so now uh, the Django request has many inbuilt methods, and here I list down some of the um, methods which would help for various reason for various projects like is AJAX and body and get. These are some of the key methods has this request class. So so how can I use this, right? I mean, where should I use this? In my one of my project I developed for my dad business. I have to create small website where I have to segregate my development, testing, production server, right? So I want to have a separate logic for each environment, and those situation this get full path or get host would help us to design a view. So what get full path info will return the data is, it will return the data of the current request URL. So if I it's a method, if I refresh and if I go to my page, welcome to key.com, and what you noticed, it returns the URL which we are sending from the browser, right? And using this information you can separate the logic, like uh, if you are getting the data from this URL, hey, do this, if not, do that, right? Of course you can handle that logic in settings that py file itself, but eventually it may need some point of time to handle in a view. So this method would help us to um, implement that. And next one is the get host. So get host, it returns the domain itself. So this the method which is really helpful for me when I develop the logic for my three different servers, like applications, dev, test. So I had a situation I had to develop two different logic for two different um, testing purpose, right? So if I refresh this page, it will let us know that what is my domain. If you are in dev, it will let us know the dev domain, test, and production, just like that. And other key concept is AJAX. So this is really a important one when you go on Django REST framework, um, or when you do a JavaScript kind of logic in a front end. So many situation we may we have to do such a kind of logic in a front end, like if you have a like button, when you click a like button, it has to process the data in a back end and do response the data to the front end, right? So somehow we have to be make sure the request um, the request from the front end, it is not a HTTP request, it should be a AJAX request, right? When I say AJAX request, um, front end users doesn't without refreshing the page asynchronously, it has to send the data back to the server and return the data, right? So those kind of reason we have to make sure in our view logic, hey, if we get the AJAX request, then return the JSON response. If you're not getting AJAX request, then do HTTP response, right? So Django has a cool method called isAjax. So this will let us know whether this request is an AJAX or not. Now let me run this AJAX method, refresh my page, refresh my code, come here, refresh, is false because there is no AJAX request, right? So this is a forced refresh of my entire page that has to render the data. So let's move on my with an example here. I created the, so you can refer the script here on this block. I will paste the link um, in bottom below. You can in future, in case if you want to take a look, you guys you can refer it here. Okay, so in order to handle the AJAX request, we should have some HTML page and we should have some JavaScript on it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my return response from HTTP response to request render, and this will tutorial, and let me copy some basic bootstrap here, and I'm gonna add the form. Let's say form, test form, or test AJAX, right? That is a correct idea. You should want to use that, and close this form. Let's say button, and then type equal to submit, and then let's say like, and close the button. So now we have to handle this logic in a asynchronously, right? So let me refresh this and go back to my browser, and did I save this? Okay. Somehow I don't know, my Visual Studio Code is taking a very long time to refresh it. Okay. If I refresh now, still it's false. If I click like button, still it's false, right? Because it is forcefully refreshing our page, right? When you click on the like button. Let's create some JavaScript here. Script. So I'm gonna read my ID. So form ID element equal to document get element by ID. The ID name is test AJAX, and when we click the submit form, it should have add event listener. So let me copy the code. Super lazy today. Where else that command? Okay, add event listener. So when you do the submit, this will trigger handle form submit. Then function handle form submit. So we have to basically call that function event listener to grab that ID and send the response to send the request to backend. We're gonna use XMLHttpRequest here. So it's event. So event dot prevent default, which will help us to have the data. Save the data without while when you click a submit button, right? So just want to make sure prevent from any other action apart from when you submit the form. Okay, and then let's copy. So what I'm doing is I'm copying the target data to my form and creating the so this is the inbuilt class in the JavaScript of reading the form data from the HTML element. So so using that event target. So why I am using the event target, I can show you. When you submit the form, can console log, let's see, event. Let me refresh this page. Add event is a callback. Okay. One thing I forgot. So since it's a jQuery, so still we're not using jQuery. It should be okay. And where are we getting an issue here? Oh, it is not an. It's not a variable. It's a function, right? So it should be like this. If I refresh my page, I should not see any error. Yeah. If I see what is my submit event, it has the target. So target is my form data. So that's why we are using constant my form to read the data. So event dot target. Okay, so that is why I use that. And for form the new data, so this is the class new form data, and pass that the form itself, and we need a URL. So in our case, URL is going to be a this one and this one. So by default, it will go to a local domain and // so /1/ okay, and constant method equal to post. Okay, what else? Okay, now we can construct our request. XML. So this is HTML, so it's not showing here. So can copy HTML request and then XHR. Open that. So we are going to construct that HTML request here, and method and the URL here, and then XHR onload function onload equals. So when we submit the form, it is open that request, and if the request is fine, or request with the response status code of 200, then it will go for onload function and then return console.log is success. Otherwise, XHR on error, then function with console.log failed. And finally, we have to send the request. XHR send request. Send what? So basically we have to send our form data itself, right? So send form data, save, refresh the page now, like success, but 403. So 403, so usually we're unable to submit the form, right? So, and you can see that error in that in our terminal, right? CSRF token is missing. There's a two-way. You can pass the cookie token from JavaScript, or you can simply pass using this CSRF token by out of the box Django. Django has all many cool stuff like its success, but this is not we want, right? So we want to make sure our AJAX request should be true. But still, even though I send my request as a AJAX or asynchronously, why I'm getting false? That is because AJAX headers. So by default, when you send the request to the Django view, the AJAX request should be in the header level, right? Any request or any metadata information from client to backend, all this metadata information in the header level. So somewhere we have to pass that header information and say this is AJAX request, and that is somewhere in our Django document, which should be there. AJAX Django AJAX XML HTTP request. Let's try that. Django set headers, I believe. I'm trying to find out that, but it is not. It's AJAX. Okay, here. So by default, if you have that is AJAX, then returns true if you send an HTML request. Yes, we sent an XML HTTP request, but what is mentioning is by checking with this header for the string. So they are they are mentioning to have a header as part of our HTML request. So what I can do is I can set my header like this. Back to here before send the request. Sorry, after the open method should be open method. Here set request header and HTTP requested with. That's what they given in document, HTTP requested with for HTML request. Also, if the response is AJAX for a cache related stuff, they also requested to have this header. So copy this as well and paste it here. So once you set the header and mentioning this is a AJAX request, and now if I refresh my page, click on like, I'm seeing true, right? So you can have the logic something like if request dot is AJAX, then return JSON response, something like success, thank you, or thanks, thank you. And in order to bring the JSON response, I have to from here, and so I refresh, go back to my page, refresh, like true is AJAX, but still okay, I can, since it's on load, I can have the data. So this is the idea, guys. So you can extend your code and get the data, let's say response xhr.response and console that response. You can refresh, like, and we're seeing, right? So this is the key part when you extend the code such in a front end, you can play with the back end with this combination. One more last topic I just want to cover as per this blog, which is called decorator for the view. Maybe we can continue in the next video. See you guys.